The IIT Joint Entrance Exam, or JEE, is one of the most popular engineering entrance exams in India, with over 1.2 million applicants each year. The exams decide who gets to join the coveted IITs, one of the most prestigious set of engineering colleges in all of India. But due to an annual intake of only 11,000, more than 99% of the students who answer the exam are unable to get into an IIT. We talked to three people in this episode who suffered the same fate. We will see where life took them many years later and how they think of the exam looking back. Hello, everyone. Today's episode is about the IITs and specifically the JEE exam. We are joined by Akshay, Prachi, and Neeraj. So, thanks to all of you for joining.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, I'll start with my idea of IIT and JEE. So, I heard it back in like 8th or ninth standard. And the way it seemed to me was that it was the toughest exam in India. And if you get clearing itself is very difficult, but if you clear and you get into an IIT, that would be the best thing that ever happened to you. You could get like a high salaried position in any company that you would want, and at least for an engineer that seemed like the ideal place to be. What was your guys experience? Akshay?
So I heard of it because I had an elder sister. I have an elder sister who was like 4 years ahead of me in school. So when she reached like 11th grade, so basically there were her friends, her peers had started going to these coaching classes. So we as a family, me, my mother, father, and my elder sister, we all went to this IIT coaching's presentation, um, wherein they were telling what their plan was, and because it was a 2-year program, and then it was a big investment in terms of money as well. So they give you a whole pitch of why you should join it, and then they tell you which entrance exams are there, and then I mean, it goes on and on. So their presentation was actually really awesome. They showed all about. There was slides from aeronautical engineering and chemical engineering, and they made it very cool. So that's when the bug hit me, probably. I was already curious and I was sort of a good student by then. Um, and so, yeah, I think that event got me sparked up, I guess.
What about you, Neeraj?
So for me, I got to know about JE first time through a advertisement in my school. So there is this coaching institute called FITZI, which is pretty popular in India, and they used to, I don't know if they have it now, but they used to have this exam called FTRE, called FITZI Talent Recognition Exam, where before even joining the coaching for JE preparation, you have to appear for a exam, and then the way you perform in it, they used to provide you scholarship for the coaching institute. So I think one of the toppers from my batch appeared in that exam, and he was offered a 25% uh, scholarship if he joined the coaching. So that's how I heard about it.
Prachi, how did you hear about it?
Yeah, for me, I think I was born in a city which is known for this, Kota. So I got introduced to this concept in class seventh. I have a sister who's 5 years elder to me. So she entered for her coaching classes and in around ninth standard. So you subtract five from that. So I got to hear around that class age, and the industry grew up in like industry started in Kota around 1989, around that time. So for me, it's pretty much my entire childhood I was introduced to this concept. But I started my preparation for first I for NTSC, that's National Talent Search Examination. So I went for some coaching classes in ninth grade, ninth and tenth, and then I enrolled in Bansal classes for JE coaching in 11th grade.
I want to hear about your experiences in terms of the actual coaching classes itself and how the preparation went. Prachi, do you want to answer that first?
For me, the preparation started in ninth grade itself, like I
Hmm.
mentioned. There are some dedicated coaching classes which help you prepare for NTSC, and which teach a lot of curriculum which is outside of what is taught in the schools. And nowadays, when I go back and see, I see kids preparing from sixth grade. So as soon as sixth grade, they are like pushed into this direction of preparing for JEE, and which is like a very tender age to catch all that. But yeah, there is a lot going on in that city like that, in that direction.
Neeraj, what about you? I think you were also present in Kota, right?
Yeah, so for me it was a little different, even though I got to know or kind of heard about JEE when I was in around ninth standard, but during my 11th and 12th standard, I never went to any coaching center or dedicatedly prepared for JEE examination. So I appeared in a lot of entrance examinations, and obviously the prestigious ones like JEE or AIEEE, I did not do very well, and I was getting some of the engineering universities which were not so good. So then I talked to some of my seniors and elder peers who had gone through the same thing, and then came to a conclusion that it might be worthwhile dropping a year just to dedicate it for the preparation of some of the competitive examinations. And since Kota is a very known place for preparing for JEE examination specifically, since it has a lot of coaching institutes and it provides an atmosphere which is required for preparation. So I went to Kota to prepare for JEE examination.
Before I go to Akshay, I want to say I want to say share a bit of my experience. So I also did it in 11th and 12th. I did not start in school or before that, but um, uh, throughout 11th and 12th, I think the coaching institution and their homework and their tests was pretty much the only thing I did, and rest of the college subjects took a backseat. And the prevailing notion was that you just do well enough in those subjects to get you above the minimum cutoff, and your focus would be on physics, chemistry, and math. And looking back at it, the most striking thing about that was that your entire day was just either going to coaching or studying or preparing for those tests. And looking back at it, I think, especially with all this talk about work life balance in our career, I think that was pretty much just study and no time for anything else. Akshay, what did you think? How was your 11th, 12th, or how was your preparation period like?
Yeah, so it's really interesting for me to have heard all of your stories before me because I have bits from all of your stories. For example, so my elder sister went through the whole 2 year coaching process, and as Vignesh said, that it was quite overwhelming because there was like homework from the coaching center and then tests and exams from school, from coaching center. So it's like so much of work for a like a 15-year-old 16-year-old person. So so my parents had seen that, and then up till 10th I got some good results with self study and just school preparation, just going to school. uh, so it was decided that I would not go to coaching classes and try to prepare for JE on my own in the 2 years. And so I started on my own. Even just like at school, trying to get through the subjects and then also trying to get out time for JE coaching was for JE self study was a bit too much for me. So I think around a year mark, I just left it and thought, let's just focus on school. And interestingly, I had also taken biology as my third, fourth subject, like apart from physics, chemistry, and maths. And I was really liking it. So I started. So actually, there's a diversion there where I thought that I could go into the medical sciences as well, or some sort of biotech or something. And so when the 12th standard results were out, I actually scored the highest in biology. And then I cleared some rounds for the medical entrance instead. Engineering entrance exams, I didn't do that well, so wasn't getting good universities. Uh, but so this was a time of thinking as to what to do further, and I don't remember what led me to choose engineering, but I did choose it. And then basically, I thought that now probably it would be good to get into some coaching institute, which will help me get a better preparation this time if I give the JEE again. So that is when I joined. So there's this Bakliwal tutorials in Pune, which had got really good results. So I went to a event organized by them, and so the founder called Vaibhav Bakliwal. So Vaibhav sir, as we used to call him, so he is a really persuasive and intelligent speaker. So, like, if you go to a session, he'll amaze you and dazzle you with his intelligence and persuasion. So his point was that if you, so JEE preparation and then actually going on to study in a IIT is not for everyone, and it's not something that you should do just out of the blue or just because others are doing it. You should do it if you really want to do it. And he told us that since we had only 7 or 8 months ahead of us, and there would be people who would have prepared it for 4 years or something, that it was going to be an uphill task. But they also said that they've done it for the last 2-3 years, they've got good results. So that's how I joined Bakliwal Tutorials. And then the next 6-7 months was really like hard work, and like we may go into that later. uh, but I guess it was, now that I recollect it, I guess it was there were many things which happened in those 2-3 years, so seems to be a very exciting memory.
Prachi and Neeraj, do you want to, or do you have some comments about, in general, from the perspective of work-life balance? How was that period in your life? Starting with Prachi.
For me, like the city actually just focuses on education all the time, and in fact, I see this even happening now. So the work-life balance, not the work-life balance, the study-play balance is um, is skewed completely towards studying, and that has I have seen having it a negative effect on tender minds of kids. So a lot depends on how you manage and manage the stress which comes with it.
And Neeraj, was that your experience as well?
Yeah, it was in the lines of what Prachi said, but I had a it was a little different also in some sort of in couple of things. So, for example, first time when I appeared for the exam and did not get the good result, so my intention or my thought process before joining the JE coaching exam was, so I had always been a very average student throughout my high school, and I did not consider myself to be a very, very good student who can clear these extra competitive exams. So my thought process while joining the coaching center was, okay, let's give JE a shot. Worst case, I'll get into uh, more modest colleges which are not as tough to get as IITs, or I'll get into some private universities. So I did not take a lot of pressure from the beginning that I have to like seeing JE as a goal and getting good rank as a goal. But having said that, I also never like slacked during my preparation. So those 1 year, if I recollect back now, was the 1 year where I would say I studied as much as the rest of the time in my life in just that 1 year. And I still feel that where I am right now, it like a lot of it is because of those 1 year. I'm still reaping the benefit of those 1 year of hard work. So, going to the question of how the preparations was, so for me, going to Kota, the environment was completely different. I'd never seen students studying so much or being focused so much, and also the number of students there and the number of coaching centers and everybody talking about studies. And everywhere you see, there are like hostels and PGs and mess for students, and so everything in that city, as Prachi already mentioned, is catered towards coaching and preparation for these competitive examinations. So it was a completely different environment. Routine wise, we would go for classes, come back. While going to the classes, you will keep thinking, you'll go thinking about some of the problems which you earlier tried to solve but you couldn't get the answers. While coming back, you will keep thinking, I at least used to do this, keep thinking about some solution which the faculties explained and maybe you did not understand very well. After coming back, you eat food and then maybe get some rest and then again studies. There was no going out. I remember that whole year I did not go for a single movie or eating outside or things like that. So it was just studies, going to the coaching, and then maybe just having food or a little bit chit chat with friends who lived in the same hostel. And yeah, that was the 10 months of that year for me.
That sounds pretty intense, and I'm sure that's an experience many of us are familiar with. I want to get all of your guys' thoughts on, or your just your answers on what happened at the JEE, what the result was, and how did that make you feel in terms of like how satisfied you were, and how did your friends and like how did your parents and family react to it? I'll start with Prachi.
For me, I appeared twice in JEE. The first year, I got into extended merit list, and I was getting space-related branches. The second year, I think the pressure built up more on me, and I couldn't get in. I was expecting a better rank, but that didn't happen. Coming to the question of what was the reaction of my parents or family, my family was very chill. I think it was all self-induced pressure which I had put on myself, that I want to get into this rank and this branch and all that thing. But my family was pretty cool with whatever I choose. Uh, and coming to the answer of what finally happened, I ended up choosing computer science. I always wanted to do that in a different college. I went to VIT Vellore in Tamil Nadu, and yeah, that was my journey.
Akshay, do you want to give your answer?
So we had, in my mind at that time, there were these two exams, the IIT-JEE and the AI-EEE to get into NITs. And for the past 7 or 8 months, we had been, I mean, uh, the discussions in class and everything was all about the IIT-JEE. And it was kind of implied that if you study for that, the AI-EEE will take care of itself. So I was actually really, but I guess in JEE you had more time, and in AIEEE it was more of if you're faster, it's better. So I was more suited to the slower nature, or I mean, more thinking that you had to do for JEE. And so I was actually in, so it was in two papers at the time that I gave it, paper one and paper two, which were 3 hour papers, and there was a break in between. So I actually really enjoyed the questions on the paper one. And I remember thinking in the break that this all was worth it, thinking that since I'm giving this exam and also really liking it, and it was something which was coming naturally to me. The final result was I did get a rank which was like some 6K or something, but I don't think that, so I went through the counseling and everything, but I don't think I got a good, even an engineering seat. I guess there was some MSc or something which was I was getting. So uh, overall, I was really happy with the way I gave JEE. Um, that like the fact that I didn't get a good program was okay because I went to some other college.
Neeraj, do you want to share your experience?
Yeah, so for me, as I mentioned previously, also when I started to prepare, my mind was not too much set into JEE. But as the preparation went on, and since I started getting more attached to it, so in the end, during the exam, I was pretty serious about it, and I really wanted to get a good rank and get into one of the IITs. So I gave the exam, and as Akshay also mentioned, I was pretty happy with the first paper. I think it was physics, and physics was my favorite subject among the three: physics, chemistry, and math. So it went really well, and I was super happy about it. The second paper also went decently, not as good as the first one, but it was decent. During the day of the result, I still remember. So after coming back from the exam, it's a common practice there for different coaching institutes to publish the solutions of the JEE examination, and then student would compare their answers with the solutions, and then try to see that what they're scoring or what is their projected rank. So I did that. I don't remember doing that actually, because I was like, okay, I'm not interested in this, I'll just see the result. So yeah, on the day of the result, I saw my rank, I still remember, was 9,530, which was just, I just made into the merit list. But again, I could not get any good branch or the subjects or courses or the IIT which I was interested in. So I did not pursue it with that rank.
For me, I just gave it once and I didn't clear it, so I didn't get any rank at all. And my performance at the AIEEE was also kind of disappointing from what I had expected. And I ended up joining NIT Goa, which was not at the very top of my list and was a very new university. And beyond the result itself, I remember my first year being for during the first year being me being a little underconfident because I had, at least for me, I thought I would definitely get into a good AIEEE rank where I did not. So that impacted my confidence a little bit. And throughout the first year, I was constantly trying to just to prove to myself that I was like as smart as I thought I was. I don't know if that was true for you guys as well.
So adding to that, I also did not get my choice of colleges from AIEEE as well. So, but I got a really good rank in one of the state entrance exams, which was for Karnataka state. And Bangalore has, and Karnataka in general, has a lot of good engineering colleges. Plus, I was interested in computer science, so it has a good industry as well, for good tech industry as well. So it was a good choice for me, and I got a very good college there. So going to that college, the experience was a little different because I'm from the north side of India, and there the craze of, or the trend of preparing for JEEs is pretty common. All JEE or triple E is pretty common, but going to a university in southern part of India, there what I noticed during my first year is a lot of good student who got like really good rank in the state entrance exams. They never actually prepared for these national entrance exams like JEE or triple E. So I kind of did not get a feeling that since I did not clear those exams, I am lacking behind them, or uh, any kind of inferiority complex in any ways.
So I had something to add there. So even I got into so since I didn't get a good program from IIT-JEE, so I basically selected NIT Raipur from AIEEE rank list. Um, and so actually, it's a lot of people who end up in these NITs have been through the whole coaching process. So there were some of us who would discuss that. So we would have a common thing to discuss that we've come from this coaching background or preparing for IIT-JEE background, and there would be times where we would discuss what if, you know, we just had to score like a few more marks and your rank goes up by a lot, and then you would be studying in one of the IITs. And the first year at NIT Raipur was not as appealing or didn't turn out to be as interesting as it could have. But gradually, it sunk in that you're here and you've actually got to do something now. Meaning, you still have an opportunity to really do good and do interesting things. So maybe there was a slight phase, you could call it like a JE hangover, and after that, I guess we could then again get on with our goals.
Did you have any JE hangover, Prachi, or was that not the case with you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, actually, I could make my peace with this result very late, and that peace came when I could come for my masters and could join Carnegie Mellon. That's when I could make my peace. Otherwise, there was always a lingering non-acceptance that why did that happen? Why didn't I get in that college that day? So I think that piece I could get only when I finished my masters and I could move on. That's when I moved on from the result. I could feel like that day I felt like life is a summation of events. There can be different paths to reach the same stage. So not necessary that you have to go through the JE path to reach to the same point. Everybody's path can be different. That's the piece I made.
I have to add something on the same lines. So, uh, for me, I did not have a JE hangover as such when I started in a different university. But 2 years during my third year in my undergrad college, I got to visit IIT Mumbai. And that time, when I saw the campus and the students there and all the facilities which were present, it sort of came back. And I kind of missed that. Okay, if I had gotten into IIT, things might have been maybe better, or there might have been better experiences than what I had. So, yeah, that was a temporary feeling which I got.
I was a summer intern at IIT Bombay, and I remember being awestruck with the campus. And especially the part that caught my attention was that there was so much good free food available. And I couldn't imagine what life would be like for me if I was in a campus which offered such awesome food all the time. Uh, but yeah, that was also years ago.
Hey, I had exactly similar experience at IIT Delhi. Like I was a summer intern at a research lab there, and the food was really awesome.
In terms of campus, I think I never had any regrets. My campus offered a lot of things at VIT Vellore, but it since I had grown up in a city which had put so much emphasis on getting into the prestigious IITs, for me to unlearn that thing, it took a lot of time.
I want to get a quick answer from you guys about what you're doing now in terms of what company you're working for and what's your role. Prachi, do you want to start?
Yeah, I work for a cybersecurity company called Palo Alto Networks. So I work as a senior staff software engineer. My role ranges, I'm a full stack engineer over there. My role ranges from backend engineering and also has some flavor of front end engineering. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Neeraj, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I work for an internet company called Google, and I'm working in the product Gmail, and specifically in the abuse detection team for Gmail. So yeah, that's about me. And yes, on the food thing, I get a lot of free food now. I did
Yeah.
not
So
get
now,
any of
if
my
you get
college
like
days.
a funny, if you look at a funny thing in your Gmail or there's some sort of a spam, you know that you've heard the guy who handles that.
Yeah. Akshay, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I work at NVIDIA now, and I'm a memory system architect. So it's a hardware design performance architecture role. Yeah, so I did my master's in computer engineering from North Carolina State University. And then after that, I joined Samsung um, Austin Research Center, wherein I was also working in a hardware performance architecture role. And then I moved to, and that was in Austin. And now I moved to NVIDIA in Bay Area.
Next up, I want to ask a important question to all of you guys, and maybe start with Prachi, and that is, what do you think, looking back, uh, what would what do you think of that period where you had to prepare for JEE, and what you thought of JEE, and what do you think of it looking back now, Prachi?
Yeah, looking back, I think the preparation prepared me for the life, right? I would say, even though I was not successful in cracking that exam that specific day, I think it did set me up and prepared me for other challenges of life and also accepting the failures in general. So I think it did leave a good impact in the net scheme of life, and I have no regrets of spending that period of my life preparing for JE.
What about you, Neeraj?
Yeah, so I still consider that 1 year as one of the best years because I did not have such expectations from myself and I did not know that I could do so much and study so much, to be honest. So I really enjoyed studying also that 1 year. And when I got the rank in IIT, I was a little bit sad about not getting a better rank, but I was also, I think, more happy by just getting into the merit list because I had not, to be honest, I had not expected a lot from myself. So yeah, it was really, really nice. And I, as I said before, yeah, I still think I am reaping the benefit of the hard work which I did that 1 year.
I think the most important thing that came for me was the period early in my engineering where I had this notion that I had to try a lot of things and find something I was good at. So that, uh, in terms of the positive impact, um, th- that that was it for me. And I think the lesson I learned from that period, which is similar to what Prachi said, which was to do what I wanted to do, there were multiple paths. JE was one of them, but not the only one. And later on, when I did my master's and in computer science itself, I uh, got got into the specific field of machine learning. I had I thought I had achieved my goal in terms of the career and what I wanted to do. What I wanted to get your thoughts on now was, what would you tell the younger generation who might be preparing for the JE or AIEEE now?
I would like to say the younger generation that in the grand scheme of life, the one day cannot decide your fate. And I think the mistake which I made was I had put too much pressure on that one specific day. And for me in general, like if there's too much pressure, then I cannot really achieve the results. So given that, I would say like the takeaway is that even if you lose that day and if you lose a train that day, that life always gives you more chances and more opportunities. It's not like a finished thing, it's not a done deal. So as long as you're alive and as long as you have the will to do that, you can always reach the same stage again. That's my takeaway. I would give a takeaway to younger generation.
What do you think about the students that you see now? Do you think that there is an unnecessary pressure or expectation on them, especially in Kota, like that town?
Yes, I do see not just the students. I hear it from their parents also. There is a whole spectrum of students and parents. I see people standing at the spectrum where they are very tensed and in high pressure. They're actually seeing a therapist or going through depression cycles. There have been students who have gone into full blown depression and are taking medicines for depression. And there are also students who are very chill and who don't study at all. So there is a whole spectrum available over there, what I've seen. But yeah, in general, a lot of them are under pressure. I think with time now, people are realizing this, and I've seen a change coming in last few years. So I think there's a positive trend going on. In fact, the city also took steps when they identified the spike in depression and suicide rates. The city where I live, where I grew up, they took active steps to handle that.
Ak- Akshay, do you want to go next on that question?
I guess I have not been in touch with anyone who's giving JE right now or any students who are preparing. But I do see that now there is so much more information about things in general. And then I guess there is acceptance of a lot more career options now as compared to when I gave JE. But one advice, if there is such a, I mean, if I could give some one advice, I would be like, that would be to focus on the process that they are following to try and get better results. So, and I think a lot of time what gets missed is advice from your peers or from your immediate seniors or from people who have done well in what you're trying to do. So, for example, if you're trying to get like a top 100 rank in JEE, uh, maybe talk to someone through LinkedIn or somehow reach out to someone who has done it just 2 or 3 years before you, and see what is the process that they followed. Um, that is one way. The second is maybe you can also review what you want to do while you are doing, let's say, JE preparation. Maybe you can review, maybe you are interested in chess, maybe, and there is some friend of yours or somebody you know who's doing good in chess. So maybe try and get the process from them, that what are they doing, what is it that they're trying to achieve. So I mean, getting to know the process from someone you know or someone you can reach out to is a really good thing, I think, to do. And keep on changing it and keep on altering it until you find some good thing. And the fact is that there is more opportunity to connect now than has ever been. That's a really great side of all the social media and all the technology, if I may say, right now. So I guess, and that is an advice which that I give to my own self, I guess, is that try to find out what the process is that people are following for what they're doing.
Okay, Neeraj, no pressure, but you have the opportunity to give the final response on the final question.
So a lot of what I thought about speaking has already been spoken by Akshay and Prachi. So I'll add a different point of view. So first thing I would like to say is not to get hung up on the result a lot and try to enjoy the process and really give it your best and try to learn as much as you can and prepare well. Second point is these days, due to the presence of a lot of information or due to internet, everything is on our fingertips and we always look for shortcuts. So one thing is there's no shortcut for success. You have to put that hard work at some point in your life. So if you try to compare yourself, say, with some other student who's doing very well, he has put some amount of hard work before in his life, and that's why he's there. Somebody who's doing the maybe not as good as you has not yet put that amount of hard work. So please work hard, prepare well, but don't get hung up on the result. There are a lot of opportunities if this does not go well also, but don't use this thing as an excuse for not preparing well or be afraid of putting in that hard work. Another thing which I would like to say, this is in the same lines of what previous things were like. There are different routes or paths to reach at the same point. Similarly, every person is different and they have their own timelines also. So you might take 5 years to reach somewhere, and someone else might reach there in like say 7 years, or someone would reach there in 3 years or just 2 years. Eventually, in your whole lifespan, this difference of 1-2 years would not matter at all. So to give the live example of this, the team where I work on right now, I see there. I have a peer who is just 24 years old right now, and we almost joined at the same time at the same level, and I'm like around 3 years older than him. And there are also people in my team who joined at the same level and in the same position who are like couple of years older than me. So everybody have their own timeline. So it's not fair to compare yourself with others, because you grew up with a different environment, with different background, with different presence of resources. So always try to better yourself, and yeah, keep doing the hard work. That's all.
Yeah, thanks, Nilesh. I think that's very well put. And I want to end on a note of the topic that this podcast is about, that it's okay to try for something and fail. I think it's this process that everyone should get used to, that you can try for something, it can not work out, and you can maybe just try again or try something else till something till you get the result that you need.
Oh, I think I have one last thing to share.
Yeah, sure, why not?
So this is a message which was given to me on the first day that I joined the coaching institute for JEE, and that was
Hmm.
so the Weber sir said that the first thing that you should do is you should get out of or you should never be in self-deceit. A lot of times we tell ourselves lies and excuses, probably to say that why we can't do something or why we are not getting good at something. Uh, so that was the advice that stayed with me for a long time. So maybe everyone can draw their own, I mean, their own impressions out of that, but get out of self-deceit was a good advice.
Prachi, anything you want to add?
I think what I really wanted to say, Neeraj already covered that. If you don't, I mean, everybody has different life circumstances, so never compare yourself with anybody, because you don't know what circumstances they face to reach there. So just if you really want to have a competition, have it with yourself, nobody else,
Yeah,
and
okay,
work on improving yourself. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
thanks. Okay, I think that's a good note to end on. I'll stop the recording and let's see how much of this audio we actually got.